Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to all of our panelists here today. It's a very important topic, safety and stability in Syria. And for myself, it's an important topic because we have a strong and vibrant local community of Christian Syrians. It's the second largest Syrian population in the country. And I have heard and engaged with them on a number of times. They have serious concerns about Christian Syrians who are still in a very tenuous situation in Syria. And so, Ms. Menza, my question to you is, what is your assessment of the security for Christians and other religious minorities in Syria, but particularly Christians? And do you see conditions for those groups improving, remaining unchanged, or deteriorating under the current government?
Thank you so much, Congressman, for your question. Christians have dropped from 10% of the population before the war to 2% today, roughly about 300,000 to 400,000 that are left. And while it seems that President al-Shara has directed his forces to not touch Christians, so we haven't seen the same sort of targeting of Christians, and it seems to be purposeful that way. Yet they have been caught in Suwaidas, they've been caught obviously in the Kurdish areas, they've been caught in the Alawite area, so we have seen them killed. And there has been targeted killings. In fact, there are even some Christians that are being detained right now. So it is not, they still are running into problems and have great insecurity and fear of the future. I think that beyond the historical churches, and I think those are the ones that there has been some sort of sense that you can't touch those, and so they haven't been targeted the same way we've seen some other minorities. I think it's important to understand that in the Northeast, especially among Kurdish Christians, they've been very public that there are places, in fact, where else in the Middle East do you see churches of Christian converts? And so they are especially at risk, and it's so important that Congress also is paying attention to them as we look at the integration agreement, as we look at what these forces do to make sure that Christians who are converts, who've been more public, and of course there are also evangelical churches that tend to be more Christians from the historical Christian churches, but also, again, sometimes are more at risk from these Islamist factions. So yeah, it is very tenuous right now for Christians. I talk to them, some of them that are more up in the high in the mountains, further away, feel a little safer, but the ones in Damascus and other places are very fearful.
And so you mentioned some of the statements from the current government in Syria. They have made other public statements about how they want to protect Syria's religious and ethnic minorities, including Christian Syrians. But given the violence in the past year, to what extent do you think those assurances are translating into real on-the-ground protections for Christians?
Well, Christians don't feel protected. And in fact, so many people personally have told me that someone has come up to them, or at the church they've received some post on the front saying, "You're next." So it's almost like a kind of way of just threatening them, even if they haven't followed through with all of it. So I do think that many Christians are afraid. And of course, Christians aren't a monolith, right? There are some that feel safer and there's some that feel less safe. So I hate just making a broad statement because and the Christians are a little different, that they live throughout the country. So there's not like one place where the Christians are, and they tend to be the glue among all the different communities. So they live among all the communities, especially the Alawites, the Druze, and the Kurds.
The final question I have is the current government under al-Shara has agreed that this was one of the points of their framework with the United States government that they would work on, and there are milestones or benchmarks that we want to hold them accountable to. What can we do as members of Congress and the U.S. government to ensure the safety of those minorities in Syria?
Well, I think one of the most interesting things when I met with them, a lot of the Christian leaders in February when I first went to Damascus, and they said, don't be the rally cry, don't have the rally cry be, say, protect the minorities or protect the Christians. We want the rally cry to be equal citizenship. They don't want to be favored, they don't want to be marginalized, they want to be equal citizens with their Sunni brothers and sisters who for thousands of years, they lived together peacefully. And so I think it's important to fight for equal citizenship for Christians, Druze, Kurds, for everybody, and that means changing the constitution right now. It's an Arab republic. It could be the Syrian republic. It has Islamic jurisprudence as the source of law. Even Turkey had that once. It doesn't now. No one holds that against Turkey. They can take that away. It says the president must be a Muslim, but he doesn't have to be a Syrian. Again, these just send a message to all of society that you're second-class citizen, and that actually makes them feel more vulnerable.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing that, because when I met with a member of the clergy in our local community, that is exactly what he said. He said, we are all Syrians. We don't want to be differentiated.
They want to stand for everybody.
And so I appreciate that sentiment, and that's something we want to carry forward as well.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Congressman.